everybody, it's Romania Black, and there are Japanese subs today. We're looking at the second OVA for season 6 of Natsume's Book of Friends, and I did check before starting this. There are Japanese subs and subtitles, so we should all be good. But last week we got a little taste of the English dub, which I was happy about. I was okay with that. And I've already checked with Sunspots, who has helped be like a pseudo moderator on this series before. And I said, hey, Sunspots, I explained what happened with the first OVA, and I said there's a movie next week after this OVA that's going to come out. Can you get me a file of it with Japanese subs? And they were like, yes. So next week we will have the Natsume movie, which is so exciting. And so we'll be watching that next week. And it will have Japanese subs as well. So that's exciting. A Natsume movie sounds amazing. I'm so thrilled. So with that being said, I am watching this OVA a little bit before comments because I couldn't wait. Surprising no one. But I do want to go ahead and give a shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. If you've been on my Patreon, you know I've got multiple tiers. There's multiple access. A lot of patrons get things a week before everybody else on YouTube. You also get to vote in the polls to determine what I watch. Like, we're getting dreadfully closer to the end of this series, or when I'm caught up with season 7, and when that happens, then there's going to be a new series, so y'all will get to vote on that. So in any case, go check out my Patreon, see if you want to join if you want. But I want to give a shout out to the philanthropy tier because they donate a little extra each month, and it means a great deal. So to thank Be Happy, as well as Alex Cornejo, Bisa, Dana, Damage3245, Danger Zone, because I have to say it that way every single time, as well as Devorin, Destiny Marie, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Linden, Liam Polzel, as well as Mochi-kun, Murphew, Willie Morris, Translucent Men, Sunspots, Shimoyama, and Daniel. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel, and to everyone on Patreon that supports me, mwah, thank you so much. And if you don't have money on Patreon, that's totally cool. I get it, but just give me a subscribe, like the video, comment down below. You know the drill. So we're gonna be looking at the second OVA. I'm super excited. I have no idea what's going to be entailed, but this may very well be the last time we see the OP and ED for season 6. So I can't believe season 6 has gone by so quickly. And it didn't even, we only had like one 2-parter. No, we had two 2-parters, but still, it went by very, very quickly. I do still have volumes 18 and 19 to catch up with after this OVA. I'm not going to look at any of the volumes next week because it's a movie, but I think I might look at volume 18 the week after, or if anything, I might wait and do volumes 18 and 19 together. I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm going to talk it over with the moderators, but in any case, I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well. So with that being said, we are going to start the second OVA of season 6 and see what this is like. And we're going to get started with that and do that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. I want to soak in and enjoy this OVA, or this OP, because it's so good. I feel like I just got settled into this OP. Why is it ending already? Wow. Going back to the first episode of this season where Natsume was a kid, that it's so weird. It feels like 1,000 years ago, but then it also feels like yesterday that it happened. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know why Madara just pops like that, but it's so cute. Oh. I also find it so endearing that Natsume looks back at his past and he's just like, yeah, that was me before, but it's not me now. I'm like, insane. And we'll never know what Madara saw in that shrine, will we? And Reiko. And Madara, like, over Natsume's kid self. So cute. I'm gonna miss that OP so much. Oh, that music is, like, so iconic. Oh. Oh. Who be this brown-eyed girl? Oh. Tamami. Oh, did she forget her number? I guess they're like, okay, you do you, girl. You do you, girl. Really? What's the point of starting over? Like, what are you doing, girl? What? What are we doing? The portal to the dark dimension has opened! A fragment of fantasy. What? Is this on a different day or is this the same day? Oh. Is that Madara, though? Whoops. Oh my god, really? She has a very Alice in Wonderland vibe. I'm definitely a cute little cat. Nothing suspicious here. Oh my god. There's nothing odd about me stealing your shrimp tempura. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes! Oh, I'm glad you realized that too. Yes. And you're like the Cheshire Cat. Oh. You ate her lunch. Oh my god. Oh. You see. That escalated quickly. Looks so mean. Natsume is the opposite of mean. Yeah, why are you here? Oh, well, there's my human slave. Oh. Oh. So she probably can't see yokai, but she left her lunchbox. Definitely got the Alice in Wonderland. Oh! Well, hey! That's creepy. That's real creepy. Actually, nope. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So she saw it and then... Interesting. So she has the ability maybe to see some yokai? Good. Man, she's handling this a lot better than most people would. What does she have something to do? Oh. 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 Oh my gosh. Ah! Oh my god. It'll work out! Oh my god. Is she gonna forget about it? I mean... So... Oh... Huh. Force of the Gospel is interesting. Oh. Ah! Yeah! Yeah, okay, so they acknowledge that. Yeah, get out of the forest. Oh. Really? Yeah, sorry! That may have sounded weird! Natsume's like, that's not the weirdest thing that's happened to me on a Tuesday, so... Oh, trust me. Yeah, he won't. Okay. So is this with the... Oh, God! But it's on a string. Yeah. He's like, I'm not laughing yet. Oh, in a fishing line. Oh. Oh, so it is a real owl, or it's a yokai. Oh. And an opening of its eye. The other eye. Oh. Oh, it's kind of cute! Oh, man, no, it is kind of cute, damn it! Oh! Oh! Why does it kind of look like something out of Courage the Cowardly Dog? Why? Okay. And now you have this bitchin' ring that could be evil. Who knows? Well, if it was tangled up, maybe it wasn't his ring to begin with. Oh. That's very Labyrinth. Okay, cool. King Jareth is coming to visit you, girl! Oh. That damn voice! That Jareth the Goblin King is gonna have you come to him. She does look like Sarah, so I mean, this fits. And Labyrinth's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. Well, I don't know. Were you not listening to my story? Okay, so it's the same day. Oh, well, they're probably looking for the same thing. Tamami, yes. Oh. Oh, interesting. Book of Boyfriends. Add a girlfriend to that book. I mean, you know Nyanko Sensei. She's a little too ditzy to be, I think, with Natsume, but I like her as a friend for him. That's funny. That's cute. That's really cute. Nyanko Sensei is like, I ain't walking. Ah. So she can't see all the spirits. Aww. Feels very Doctor Who, you know? And he can see the yokai that she can't. Which we've established in the episode with Aoi that some people can see yokai that they are compatible with and some can't see yokai at all. So that's interesting. We'll talk about it in the discussion. And my dogs are going to run around playing, so... Yeah! Oh! With the white owl instead of the white rabbit? Oh my god, adorable! Cute! And Natsume's like the Mad Hatter? Yes! That's such a good analogy. This girl is me. I'm Tamami. I'm maybe not as ditzy as Tamami, but... Cute! Aww. So what we're gonna do now? Oh. Oh. I love that it looks like a big owl. I wonder if they're the same. Maybe they are different beings, though. Aww. And there's the owl. Yeah, it is the owl. Hakuhi is actually adorable. I'm a sucker for owls. I do love owls. Maybe that's why he showed himself to her, because he had met Reiko before. Ah. Something like that. Oh, I love it. Do it in a place like this. Oh. Oh. Mm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Because she's here with your ring. Uh-huh. Oh. Uh-huh. Mm. Okay. Oh. Hmm. Interesting. But do you want her to forget? Hmm. Yeah, don't. Uh-huh. Oh. Hmm. Oh. That's a bit extreme. Hmm. Oh. I'm with Natsume. I hate the idea of erasing memories. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Ah. Huh. Hmm. Oh. And you could tell Natsume is not happy. Oh. 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 It's so freaking cute. Oh. Oh. Oh, a fragment of fantasy. Huh. Oh. Oh. Hmm. Oh. 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 That's a really pretty shot. Oh. Uh. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Aw. Aw. That was actually really sad. At least she has a little piece of stone to kind of remember by, but... Hmm. Interesting. So we're going to talk about that a little bit with the priest and priestesses and about Natsume, but... I know. My dogs are like, but... That was a really cute OVA. Anything that's Alice in Wonderland themed, I'm like, yes, please. Yes. Yes, please. And this came out in 2018, so it was still 6 years ago. Like, nearly seven years ago. Insane. Insane. Okay. So a fragment of fantasy. Hmm. Aww. I love this OP and Edie. I'm gonna be so sad that it's gone. This Edie is so good. Aww. So good. So freaking good, y'all. Well, this was a lot of fun. I really liked this OVA. This OVA was good. It was actually a lot more kind of somber than I was expecting there at the end, but so I'm a huge fan of Alice in Wonderland, for the record. I'm a huge fan of Labyrinth, for the record. It's one of my favorite movies. And so if you give me Alice in Wonderland-esque moments and then a giant owl deity that has a deep resounding voice, it's automatically a win for me. So I loved it though. I loved it. So anyway, Tamami was great. I'm really sad because I feel like Tamami, I thought she might be a reoccurring character, but with her getting her memory wiped, we'll talk about that. I guess she's probably not a recurring character, so this is probably like her one-off experience. So that's sad. I really liked her character. I didn't know how I wanted to frame what I thought of her relationship with Natsume, and then the show kind of did it for me, and I thought, oh, okay, well that makes more sense. So let's talk about her. What I like about Tamami is that, again, we get this moment with Natsume in the episode where Natsume is concerned that she's going to be ostracized because of her seeing yokai, and it will make her seem strange. And the funny thing is that, again, Natsume is projecting a little bit onto others based on his own experience, right? Whereas he's seen characters like the girl with Aoi, where she was like, I don't care if people think I'm weird. I love this yokai, and he's bitching and has wings. They can screw it. So, he's dealt with that. And then, he's also seen other people that can see yokai that maybe have similar feelings. But a lot of it are Natsume's own feelings. And I think the only one that maybe relates to him that we've seen so far is kind of Notori, but in a different way. The thing that Natsume can't see is that when we get to Tamami and her friends at the beginning, she's like, oh, nothing important. I'm just doing this one thing. And they're like, okay, whatever. And they just let her go off in the woods and let her be. It seems kind of is suggested that Tamami is kind of a ditzy character anyway. She's kind of airy and aloof, and it is what it is. But I like the idea of we get an explanation for the numbers and the pacing, right? And that she goes into the forest and she's like, oh, yay. And her eyes get really wide, like she's just done a line of cocaine. She's just like, got that yokai dimension opening. That was amazing. That was great. So anyway, this episode is called A Fragment of Fantasy. This OVA is. And she kind of like falls asleep eating her lunch, and she confuses it for dreaming, which Nyako Sensei shows up to eat her food because of course he does. And I mean, is it no surprise to us that Nyanko Sensei leaves Natsume in the middle of this haunted yokai-filled forest to go find shrimp tempura? Are we surprised? No. Could it be that this entire time Nyanko Sensei goes missing, he's actually been hunting down people's bento boxes? Who knows? But anyway, she encounters Nyanko Sensei, and he's like, well, there's no getting out of this now. So he convinces her that it's a dream. They animate Madara adorably in this entire OVA. He looks precious. I love it. But he calms her down and basically, while eating her food, says there's nothing odd about a talking cat. What are you talking about? He like tries to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi Jedi mind trick on her. You didn't see anything, as he gobbles down her shrimp tempura. But it's super cute. They have this little conversation. Again, the way they animate him is precious. And she's like, this is like Alice in Wonderland. And he's like, Alice? So she talks about, you know, basically he's like the Cheshire Cat. Again, the little shot with him and the tempura sticking out of his mouth is freaking adorable. And then he just eats everything and lies down like a big old fat cat. And he's like, well, I'm a great yokai, you see. She's like, what? And she's like, that escalated quickly. But I have a servant boy who's wimpy and frail, and he's always run off. Uh-huh. Like, don't talk shit about Natsume behind his back. So he leaves her and tells her it's not a normal forest. And then as she goes to find him, that's when she runs into this creepy looking yokai that we don't see again. The yokai with the eye that looks terrifying. I'm assuming it's the one that was, you know, attacking Natsume. That thing is disturbing. The mangaka just includes that. I'm assuming this is based off of a chapter in the manga because I wasn't allowed to read the manga past this. So I'm assuming it's one of the chapters, right? But this mangaka likes just inserting these creepy yokai, and then they don't go anywhere. Like this one with the eye and the tangled hair, we never see it again. It's just gone. But after that, she runs into Natsume, and Natsume is a little concerned about her being there because he knows how dangerous it is. And then Natsume's like, wait, you're a human? And she's like, well, of course. And he's like, why are you here? What's interesting is when Natsume kind of gets defensive and is trying to figure out why she's there, and he's like, why are you here? It kind of was giving me Haku vibes from Spirited Away, where he's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, go run across the bridge before they light the lanterns. Like, it was giving me that vibe. Like, Natsume was feeling like a yokai, warning her about the yokai. And I was like, Natsume, what we doing? And then Nyanko Sensei, I love Natsume getting on to Nyanko Sensei being like, why are you talking around her, Sensei? And stretching his mouth out. And he's like, oh, she was, you know, having a dream and she gave me her food. It's so funny. And I love Natsume, like, having the disgruntled look at Madara like, I'm mad at you. You did not do good, Sensei. And Madara's like, oh, could you blame me? You know, it's funny. He's like, when she does leave this forest, and he says, well, it's not your problem. So that in itself was Madara trying to hint at that the spirit of the forest was going to erase her memories because she's not going to be allowed to remember things when she leaves. And he just didn't want to tell Natsume off the bat, thinking that the issue would resolve itself. And then we find out about the ring, because he's like, this forest is its own little world. There's moments when you can see things you normally couldn't. And he's like, this is called the Forest of the Gospel. And it's ruled by a divine protector class yokai. Which, look, we might as well go ahead and talk about it. One of my least favorite tropes, of course, is miscommunication in anime. But another trope that I'm not the biggest fan of is that of memory erasing. I think I'm traumatized from a Doctor Who episode. To be honest, but memories are so precious, and this series establishes why memories are so important. And so the concept of characters forgetting things is really scary, and real life things like dementia and Alzheimer's are really scary. So whenever we have, you know, different episodes that focus on losing memory, like we did back in this last season with Takuma, then it gets kind of scary. So, I mean, but at this moment, when he's talking about the Forest of the Gospel and that this divine protector class yokai rules over it, it kind of makes sense why she has to lose her memory, because unlike the cases with the other yokai where, you know, you want to remember them and everything, here, there's a lot of dangerous things in this world, and it's only open to certain people, and once it's cut off, you can't get back to it, and it's best that she not keep coming back to this world and remembering it. And so in that sense, it reminded me a little bit of Labyrinth, because in Labyrinth, Sarah like gets a little memento of the world when she leaves, and she can remember it and always think about it. She keeps her memories, but it's a similar world where you don't want to just go visit because it's very dangerous. And so also, I thought it was interesting that it's called like Forest of the Gospel, and it made me think of like Mount Sinai. So in the Old Testament, Moses goes to like the top of Mount Sinai, and then he gets the tablets of the commandment, and he drops them and everything. But, you know, he comes back down remembering everything God's told him. And in this, it's kind of the polar opposite of that, where, you know, you forget when you leave the mountains. So I thought that was interesting. It was an interesting contrast where you forget when you leave as opposed to you being enlightened. So I thought that was kind of cool. I liked that. But anyway, he's like, nobody here is that weird. Don't worry. He's like, nobody. And then he calls Natsume special. So she's like, well, this place is really amazing. And so then she's like, did you see a white owl in the forest? A white owl asked me to come here. And Natsume's like, what? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry if that's weird. And Natsume's like, oh, no, it's not weird. I'm just curious, because Natsume's like, I've dealt with this before. And she's like, well, you'll laugh. And he's like, I won't. So she talks about on her way home from school, she walks under this big tree. Her encounter with the owl is very much something that I think would happen to Natsume, especially in his past. And so she's like, there was an owl tangled up on a fishing line. And so she talks about, you know, seeing the owl. By the way, what is it? Is it Haruhi? Is that the owl's name? Haruhi? This owl is very much in contention for one of the cutest yokai on here. Maybe it's because I have an affinity for owls in general, and especially like a little white owl with red eyes. It's freaking adorable. It's so cute with his little beady eyes. The beady eyes that it has kind of reminded me of the Western animation Courage the Cowardly Dog. That seems like such a weird reference, but he does look kind of like a character from that series. It's like oddly cute, which is a great apt description for this series. Oddly cute. But it's so adorable, and I love it. And she like untangles him from the fishing line. He flies away, and she keeps the ring, and then he wants the ring back because it has something tied to the forest, so she goes back to give it to him. Super cute. I was 1,000 times here for it. I could just stare at it all day. And whenever she's holding him in her lap, and he just has that little eye open, adorable. And then he flies off. Cute little owl. Love it. So she's like, yeah. And then the owl coming to her in the dream, I'm sorry, but that feels like such a reference to Labyrinth. Like Jareth coming through the way that the owl was framed it just feels like such a Labyrinth reference, which Labyrinth is very much kind of referring to Alice in Wonderland in a lot of ways. Oh, I live for it. I love it. And then that deep voice, y'all, I'm attracted to voices. I'm just going to tell you, I'm attracted to voices. And a deep voice like that, I was like, I would come to the forest. I'd feel really bad about forgetting what he sounded like, but I would come to that forest in a heartbeat. Take 3 steps to the south, turn around, you'll find the entrance. Yep. And so she's like, well, you know, it's a lot of trouble, but I'm going to take this ring back. So I made a lunch and I was going to come here, but I can't find him. And that's when I found Nyanko Sensei. And Natsume's like, oh, you ate her lunch? And Namadara's like, how was I to know? He's like, how was I to know it was her lunch? What's a Nyanko Sensei to do? I love it. And she's like, I have to give it back. And so she's like, and Natsume's like, well, I'm looking for the ruler of the forest. And I'm like, well, they probably are the same being, but we'll see. And come to find out they are. And she's like, I'm Tamami. And what's interesting is Natsume was going to say his name, but then he doesn't. And I think that's interesting. I think it's the first time that Natsume has not said his name. And he says, if we meet again somewhere, it would be bad if you knew my name. That is a big growth moment for Natsume. And a part of me feels sad about it because it feels like, you know, the Natsume of seasons past where he would just openly be like, I'm Natsume, you know, Takashi, and I'm Reiko's grandson, like just would say it out in the open. Those days feel so innocent, but now it's not only Natsume trying to protect her, you know, from getting in trouble, because what if she mentions his name around an exorcist or around a yokai? It seems like my theory is the yokai was tangled in the tree and made it to where she could see him. And that's how she was able to see him and get the ring and get the fishing line off of his leg. Because we established back in this season with the Aoi episode that some yokai are compatible with some humans and they're able to be seen. And so one piece of the world building that I've really liked that's been developed over the course of this series, and it's really been talked about in this season specifically, is how different humans, depending on who they are and their spiritual awareness, are able to see different yokai. Like, I think that's so cool. I like that world building because it makes, Natsume is obviously the OP one, which makes me think he's from a prominent family and just doesn't know it yet, but the other exorcists are kind of in on it. But I also feel like it helps to make there be a lot more options for what can happen in a story. Like, you could come across a character that has enough spiritual awareness where they can see certain yokai, like with Aoi, or you could have situations like with Tanama, who kind of senses a presence but doesn't really sense them there. Like, it opens the doors for a lot of storytelling possibilities, and I like that. But I think it's important that Natsume's like, he's like, sorry, I can't say who I am. And he smiles at that because I think that Natsume is getting to the point where he kind of likes being a little anonymous. He's like, I don't want to give my name out willy-nilly anymore. I have some pride in it, which the idea and symbolism it's hitting me of names and of names not being revealed. Like, that's a huge thing. So we've talked in this last season as well about the Book of Friends and how Notori has told Natsume that when yokai, they never give their real name out because you can be controlled if an exorcist has the right tools, like the Book of Friends, to do so. So they create fake names when they make contracts. Like Hiragi, for example, we've talked about her like in more detail. But again, like Natsume seeming like a yokai, he kind of seems like it here where he's not giving out his full name. He's like, oh no, I don't want to. And it's not because he's afraid of being controlled, but he knows the power that names have and how that name could hurt her later on, either through an exorcist or another yokai, so he's choosing not to give it out. And the connections to the yokai and to the names and the Book of Friends, like, it's all so interesting, and I find it fascinating, and I think the series does such a good job of being subtle about it, but putting it out there for us, right? And she's like, okay. She's like, will we meet again? Which should have been foreshadowing, in itself of this episode, but whatever. So Madara's like, you're buying me one of those new manju from Nanatsujiya when we get back for helping you out with this. He has such a melancholy look for part of this. I think it's because he knows that there's a good chance they may not see each other again because of the adventures he's been on so far. But she talks after the little intermission about walking around. I love Madara just perched on top of Natsume's head. That's so cute. That boy's neck strength must be out of this world, because didn't we establish Madara's pretty fat? And she's like, he was a strange boy, talking to trees with nothing on them, or looking up at the sky and nodding. It almost feels like Natsume's, Alice in Wonderland, but he kind of is talking to yokai in the forest that she can't see. She was just made privy to the ruler of the forest because he needed her help. And then we get this really cute little image where when she's like, he suddenly grabbed my hand and we were running. That made me think of Doctor Who, because Doctor Who and his companions run around a lot. And then everything he did was strange. And I love the cute little thing where she's holding Madara. That's such a cute little shot. I love that. That's really adorable. And she describes it as, it was fun and exciting. It was like I was in Alice in Wonderland. I really like this shot here because, one, it has the white owl as the white rabbit, which the white owl is much more powerful than the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. Madara is like the white rabbit actually too, which is kind of cute. He's got the little glasses, which is adorable. She's like Alice, which I love. And then I love Natsume as the Mad Hatter. I was trying to think of a way to describe their relationship, because at first I was like, oh, she's spiritually aware and she seems totally cool with yokai and like she's on board with seeing them and she's not freaked out by them. Her and Natsume would be great. But then it's like, Natsume doesn't need somebody that he would worry about. And I feel like he would worry about her 24/7 because of how aloof she is and how kind of absent-minded she is just naturally. So then I was like, no, I don't want to ship her with him because he would be paranoid about her all the time and her safety. At least with Natori or Tanama, Natsume doesn't have to worry about anybody, right? It's just, he's more worried about their moral danger than their physical danger. But then I was like, well, how would I describe their relationship? And it is kind of like, to me, the Mad Hatter and Alice, which some people ship the Mad Hatter and Alice. I'm not one of those people. I don't ship Alice with anybody in Alice in Wonderland. Some people do. But instead, I think of the Mad Hatter as kind of more of a mentor slash guide for Alice, and that kind of fits Natsume and her and Tamami's demeanor. And it also feels like Natsume is more like a platonic friend to her than anything. Right. It kind of also gives me, and I know some people in Has Been Hotels ship Alistair and Charlie, and I do not. So it kind of gave me the vibes of them, only way more wholesome. But yeah, what a cute little image. I love it. I think it's adorable. I would somehow make that shot the thumbnail, but I'm not exactly sure how to do it yet. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do some playing around in Photoshop. But yeah, so she's like, I found, and then Natsume's like, I found what I was looking for first, so I'm going to go take care of it. And she's like, I'm so glad for you. And Natsume kind of gets a little bit sad at that, and then he goes on. Like, I don't think Natsume knows what to do with all her positivity. Because usually when people are like around ghosts and yokai and stuff, they're freaked out, and Natsume has to calm them down. But she's eerily optimistic and happy, and he's like, I don't know what to do with this emotion with you. And so he goes off to take care of the ruler of the forest to give his name back. Then we get, which the name, as we find, is, I return this to the, what was the name? Wasn't it Haruhi? Which is, isn't it Hakuhi? Haruhi is like from Ouran High School Host Club. Hakuhi. Which Haku, spirit, only Haku is a river spirit, not a forest spirit. So then we get the flashback of Hakuhi going, flying across the plains, and it's a lot more sparsely populated back in Reiko's day than it is now, which is interesting. And we see him kind of like flying through the fields. It's pretty sparsely populated, and he settles in this tree that's by a schoolyard. And so there's all these kids roaming around the schoolyard. What's interesting is the kids all look a lot younger than Reiko. So I don't know if it was like a one-room schoolhouse or something where all grades were there and Reiko just stands out. But then we see Reiko testing to see if he's actually a yokai, where she's like, oh, you heard me, so you're not an ordinary owl. And he's like, well, how'd you know? And she's like, well, because the ring around your leg seems rather suspicious. And I love how he calls her out. Like, he immediately is like, you're awfully lonely, aren't you? Because otherwise, why would you be so eager to talk to someone? Which is reading her hardcore like a book, and is probably true that Reiko is lonely, and that she did want to, and that she can't talk to humans because she feels ostracized by them. So she talks to the yokai instead. And she says, do you have to be back immediately? And he's like, well, you're just wanting to talk to me, right? And then she wants to play a game with him, which every yokai, they all succumb to playing the games, and that's how they end up with their names getting taken. And then Natsume's like, wait, an owl? And he's like, yeah, when I leave the forest, I take the form of an owl. And then he says, and then Natsume, you know, at first, Natsume says she came to the forest to return this stone. And Natsume talks to the ruler of the forest, and he's like, oh, this is great. And Natsume's like, are you sure about this? If a yokai starts talking to a normal girl in her dreams, showing himself to her and calling her places, and she tells somebody, the people around her will think that she's strange. And so at first Natsume was kind of, you know, sticking up for the girl and saying, you know, you've kind of led her on to bring you this stone back. You know, what about how this, you know, presents her a problem? You know, are people going to think she's weird? And then the yokai says, oh, well, that's not a problem, because as long as I have the stone, it's all good. I have the power to erase her memories of saving me in my owl form and of coming to the forest where those who live in the shadows dwell. And so I'll just make her forget. And that's all there is to it. And Natsume's like, oh, well, I meant like, Natsume like immediately backtracks. He's like, I didn't mean take her memories. I just meant, don't cling to her or whatever. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. And Natsume's like, well, you're going to make her forget. And Madara looks at him kind of like, what did you expect? Madara knew this was coming, but looks at Natsume like, what'd you expect? And Natsume kind of freaks out for a second and is like, oh, well, don't, please. He says, no time, not even a single moment can be stolen from a person without their permission, which I am 100% on board with Natsume's thoughts with that. I agree entirely. And Natsume's like, well, she came to give it back to you. So, because she wanted to help you, why would you make her forget that? And the spirit in the forest is like, well, I can't not erase her memories. He's like, I'm the guardian of this forest, someone who sees me. And he states some stipulations here, except for priests or priestesses, which Tanama's dad would fall under. And if Tanama becomes a priest, he would fall under. Or those like you who can see all yokai, because, like exorcists or something. He's like, unless for those who are privileged like you all, they have to forget or they can't return alive because they're too dangerous. And it's too dangerous for them. Because, that's what the exorcists were kind of talking about. They've been kind of talking about that with yokai, how dangerous the yokai are. But this, ruler of the forest is saying, look, it's safe for priests and priestesses because they have talismans and abilities to ward off yokai. It's safe for you who can see all yokai because you can defend yourself. But other humans, it's not safe for them to come here and attract the attention of other yokai and not be able to protect themselves. Which, ironically, is one of the arguments that the exorcists make for the tools that they use, right? And for also forbidding people who don't have access to the exorcist organization or their tools to use things like Taki's circle and things like that. And Natsume's like, well, that's not fair. They're not allowed to return. And he's like, this is my own failure. He's like, it's my fault. I asked her to bring the stone to me. I'll erase her memories and send her back. It's the best exception I can make. And Natsume gets mad, but Madara's like, some laws can't be broken, Natsume. It's a harsh lesson. It's a really harsh lesson. And Natsume doesn't like it at all, but he can't do anything about it, which is frustrating, And I feel like the ruler of the forest senses how upset Natsume is about all of this, and so he decides to make an exception, and he gives her the fragment of the stone to show her something of himself, so that maybe one day she'll kind of remember a little bit, perhaps. He talks about how the city has grown when he came back, and he's like, it must have blinded me how much the city had grown, which is kind of cool. And when they go back and you see Natsume come out of the forest and he's enveloped in the shadows, that's such a visual. It's so interesting. And then she sees the owl and she gives the ring back to him. He's so cute. That owl is so adorable. I love it so much. And then, he breaks off a little shard of the ring to give her as a memento, which is, not something that the ruler of the forest would do for anybody. But I think it's a concession to her as an apology for having to do this and erase her memories. And it's a concession to Natsume because he knows that it's not fair, but that's the rules of the forest. And she's like, can I take this fragment? And she's like, I'll treasure it. And then as she's like, see you later, Mr. Owl. And then when she says, I'm sure we'll meet again, that's when he erases her memories. It's a shame to be forgotten. It's so bittersweet. Damn it. It's so sad. I hate it. It was a wonderful dream. And then they have that beautiful shot of her waking up. And then, of course, Natsume makes sure that she's okay. And he has such a somber look on his face, like, goodbye, like, we're never going to see each other again. And you can tell he feels bad that she had her memory erased, but what can you do? And then she sees the shard. I like how she describes Natsume as warm, though, remembering him. And then saying the shard is so pretty, isn't it? How How dare this OVA make me feel sad, make me feel things. How dare it? It just, so frustrating, right? Anyway, I this was a really good OVA. The last two OVAs, both of them were really good. Natsume's Book of Friends, usually, sometimes OVAs can feel a little fillery, and the only one that has so far was the one of Madara and the kids, but it's fine. I think that overall the OVAs have been really good, and they've done a nice job of kind of cementing the themes and Natsume's growth throughout the season, which is really clever, and I love how they've presented it, so it's great. But yeah, so next week we have a movie. I'm so excited. I can't believe we're getting that. I am kind of floored. I actually want to know, out of curiosity, it's almost 2 hours. It's 1 minute and 44 seconds. Y'all, I am so excited about this. So because it's an hour and 44 minutes, a minute and 44 seconds, no, an hour and 44 minutes, y'all. Because it's so long, we're not going to be reviewing any manga next week. I was told that I could look at volumes 18 and 19 after viewing the OVA, but the movie's gonna be enough in itself. So we're gonna focus only on the movie next week. And then after that, I'm gonna check in with the mods for the next couple weeks and then figure out that with the manga. So we'll do that. But anyway, I'm so excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope y'all enjoyed this OVA. I can't believe season 6 is done and we only have extra things and season 7 left. That is wild to me. That is wild to me, y'all. So anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Natsume's Book of Friends.